The partnership, again, is something that is sort of a new component. That, many groups have gone out and looked for buildings. Locations are there. Neighborhoods prop up. Old Town East, Clintonville areas. There's tons of stuff going on in Franklinton, the Hilltop. Right? The time seems right. People are working together. There's a huge response from the audience about things. The partnership with these guys has really become sort of a missing link. And I've been working on this kind of stuff for a while, and I can say with certainty that having people that know what they're doing in their field, running different portions rather than any one individual or group trying to take on the project, having a sort of a team already built is really is ideal. So this is kind of what we saw when we got there, and I grew up in my mom basically moved into these crappy old houses, and we would fix them up, and I kind of was trained to look at some space that looks like garbage and see that something you could do with it. Well, this almost was like a dream come true because it's not garbage. This is not. This, a year ago was a food grade facility that was making bread, and people were working here. The machines that are in here are extremely interesting. The building itself is in good condition. There's all kinds of interesting components that even just the structure of the building is very interesting. And one of the things when you're looking at all these buildings around town and trying to come up with, can we turn this into an art center or a music venue or an office space? A lot of times you're looking for those unique architectural features and things, and this building has quite a bit of that. So for a while we've been walking through. There's these are the old flour tanks. They have there's a room where the yeast used to be, where there's giant steel drums and all kinds of conveyor belts and carts and things like that. And we're walking around the building the first couple of times that we went, and it was just like a kid in a candy store. Like, wow, this is so cool. And again, the building 6 months ago was people were working in it, and there's an office in there, and there's open spaces and there's closed spaces. This is the base of the building. This is kind of like the map that we have to work with. And this, see if I have a cursor here. This part right here is actually the second floor, and it sits this corner and this corner actually meet up together. So again, it's got this sort of strange layout. There's a large street up front. You'll see in just a second. Now we have all these disciplines, and one of the things we're trying to do is chop up this building, and this is something that we're going to be asking your help to do. We're trying to figure out how to make all these different components work together. How does it divide? So I'm going to kind of walk through sort of the basic idea of what we have, and I sort of chose quotes for each of these sort of sub areas so that we could have sort of a talking point. And I took this one from George Carlin because if you think about Artisan Junction View and the way they work, this is a dirty warehouse, and we've made it home, and we've had very nice art shows and very busy art shows and music and performances and all kinds of things going on here. And if you think about the fact that an artist is working in a space that is rough, and people are taking it seriously enough to come and see what they're doing, what happens if you take them and you put them into an environment that seems like the environment is as enriching as the artwork is? And I kind of like this quote because if George Carlin feels good going to the doctor, maybe people will feel good coming to the art space. So we have artist studios, and a lot of people are familiar with the way Junction View works, and there's a lot of things that work here, and there's a lot of things that don't. And I think you could ask any artist that works in the building exactly what needs they feel like they have that aren't met, and what needs are met. You know, tall walls, people like different sizes and shapes of studios, 24-hour access, so you can come to this building pretty much any time of the day and somebody's probably going to be here. And then the most important thing for artists is just having the space be affordable. An exhibition space, the shape and size of this, I mean, we have exhibitions in Junction View's hallway, and you know, hundreds of people come and look at art. What happens when you have a dedicated space where you can have locked doors or rotating exhibitions that can stay up for longer than a weekend because they actually, you know, there's an actual secure space for that. Another thing is creating an approachable space. There are galleries around town, and this is not to say that those galleries aren't serving their purpose, but the reason a lot of people come to Junction View to see exhibitions is because they feel like they can walk in and they're not intimidated by it, and we'd ideally like to create space like that. Shared workshops is a sort of, it's not something we have here at Junction View, but it's definitely something we'd like to have. We started talking with several groups that would like to run different shared workshops, anything from a foundry, a welding lab, a ceramics lab, shared photo labs, shared screen printing labs. And basically what we're doing is we're asking all of those groups to let us know what kind of things they'd like to give to Wonderland or to run at Wonderland, and then we can provide space to that. And then they can let the community come into their space for a fee, and they can help make their rent. We also like the idea of having classroom space. Obviously, an educational component would be nice. There's a lot of people that like to teach and probably would do so if there was a space to do so. Moving along to the music. Rehearsal spaces. We have 3 bands at Junction View, or 2 bands and a DJ. And even with that, you can easily get overwhelmed if 1 or 2 of those groups is practicing. I'm sure you can ask some of the people that have studios in here. It's not always the easiest to be working. When a band is practicing, you hear the same song over and over and over again. But creating an actual space where those performers can come in and have, you know, a sound isolated room, a dedicated space where they can store the things, don't have to worry about people jumping over walls or grabbing equipment, people entering the building. It's a secure space that's dedicated just for musicians. 24-hour access, so you know, some bands don't practice until after work, and some do it all day, so hopefully that would be beneficial. Recording studio. One of our members, who we'll get introduced here shortly, is a partner with Central City Recording, and we've had a lot of opportunity to, you know, get to know how that. Andrew Dodson is Central City Recording. You know, knowing that there could be a dedicated recording studio in with rehearsal spaces. I mean, it's a direct link between a band goes to practice, they create the music, and they walk across the hall and they're ready to record. Being able to have it engineered professionally, where, you know, right now if a band wants to record, there's a few recording studios around town that do decent work, but they don't have the kind of facility that they would need to do exceptional work. And bands, a lot of times, if they reach a certain level in town, they have to go out of town. Not only that, but Columbus doesn't have the draw into town from, you know, if we wanted to get an out-of-town band to come, we just don't have the facility that will bring a group like that in. We have engineers that will do that, we have the creative minds that will do that, but they don't have the facility to work. So hopefully this will become that.